Good morning, everybody. My name's Roxie Rose, and welcome to Tiny Bunny. This is a indie horror game that I've pretty much had on my account for a couple of weeks now, and I just picked it out because I liked the visual style of it. So we're gonna give it a go. It's point and click, I think, visual storytelling. I think. Okay, creepy music. The wind clawed at my window all night long. It wandered the fields and howled like a hungry beast. An endless song weaved from all sorts of voices, shrill, gentle, sneery, twined in the air. They were shouting and laughing, and arguing about something. Someone was running through the snow while casting long shadows that would occasionally creep close to my bed. Our house had a mind of its own, the creaky old mind of a building that had seen a lot in its days, and was seemingly trying to share its wisdom with the inhabitants. The lonely house faced the forest, and the dark green thicket gazed back with its hollow eyes, rustling, whizzing, swaying back and forth. One could come out and stand at the edge of the forest to reassure themselves that there was nobody behind the crooked trees. Fuzzy silhouettes swaying in the wind couldn't possibly do any harm. It's just a play of light and shadow. Just a play. I knew it was just my imagination. I was already 12 after all. Still. Ooh, I see the fox. Hello, fox. Oh, this is very pretty. Hey, put away your book. How many times have I told you not to read at the table? It's bad for your health. Look how slouched you are. Oh, okay. I didn't protest and put the book about Conan the Barbarian aside. I was stuck on a line I couldn't understand after reading it 3 times anyway. Olia had already finished her breakfast and was munching on some cookies. She was so enthusiastic she almost looked like your typical girl from commercials. You're not going anywhere until you finish all of it. I, on the other hand, was still trying to drill a hole in the plate with my eyes, as if it would make the porridge disappear. Hazy anxiousness welled up inside, all because of the previous sleepless night, the black forest around our house and the gloomy wind. The longer I waited, the colder the lumpy white substance became. It looked like a jellyfish from the Cousteau Odyssey. Odyssey? I loved that show. I wonder how horrifying the bottom of the ocean is. Or how cold the Black Forest is at night. The spoon fell out of my hand. Mum showered me with a cold glare from her green eyes. What did I just say? I'll get it. I had 10 seconds to catch my breath before battling the nasty porridge once again. I felt around for the spoon. What is this, carved on the other side of the table? Karina. Oh, I will say this is a Russian horror game, so it's been translated. Ha, that's my mum's name. I guess she carved it out with something pointy when she was little. She sure was a rascal, damaging the furniture like that. She would scold me for a week if I did something similar, though. Oh, the music in this game is setting my tinnitus off. Oh. Should I remind her about it? Oh, that's weird. No, she's been in a bit of a bad mood lately. I imagine her being my age, sitting under this table. I wonder, was Mum afraid of the dark back then? Or the sounds coming from the attic? Or the thick forest? I imagined my grandma coming into my little mum's room, sitting at the edge of her bed where Olia sleeps nowadays, and saying this in a soft, smooth voice. Tiger is a special place, little girl. It's watching you closely, sniffing you out, trying to discern what kind of beast you are. If you're a good sort, it won't abandon you in times of trouble. But if you're a bad apple, it'll grab you by the side and drag you under the ground. And that would be it. Grandma was caring. She never fought with anybody, never yelled, never swore. There were times without the maddening screams until late at night, without smashed dishes and mutual accusations. Our parents used to love each other back then. I remember listening in on one of their conversations by chance. They were talking about Grandma getting prepared for her funeral. She'd already bought a casket, and she called it her cute funeral box. Aww. It waited for its time in the closet, patiently. It was black, upholstered with meat-coloured material on the side. I saw it when my grandma was getting buried. The house didn't change since the time she was alive. Only all the photos were gone. Glass-covered pictures with grey faces of my ancestors. They all had a dead but watchful look on their eyes. I crawled out from under the table. Olia was done with her cookies and was looking at my share like a sly woodland critter. I turned my gaze towards the frosted window. There were a lot of dark pines outside, but they didn't grab my attention. The pattern of frost formed a picture on the glass. Olia, look, it's a fox. Where? It looked almost like those optical illusion thingies they put in the back of student notebooks. A mixture of lines at first glance, but if you blur your vision a little bit and look under a certain angle. Not outside, on the window. Look, here's a nose, and here's... Hey, eat up. Yes, just a moment. I don't see anything. Hurry up, there's not much left. Ah, there it is. But it still doesn't look like one. And I'm telling you it does. Nuh-uh. It does. Stop it. These kids, I swear. Now I couldn't see the fox either. It disappeared. Went away. Only the frosty patterns similar to stretched out nettle leaves kept creeping up the glass. My dad entered the kitchen with long, measured steps. I want to have a beard like his when I grow up. Mum would always ask jokingly, "Come on, shave it off, it stings." That was so long ago. Nowadays, rumbling doors and witty comebacks were an everyday occurrence. Olia always covers her ears whenever she hears anything like, "What's the point in all this?" through the wall. "It's all for your sake," Dad would reply, "for the sake of our family." I'd always caught every sound in fear of hearing the most dreaded, deadliest word that started with a D. D-I-V-O. I don't even want to finish it. It was scary to imagine that me and my little sister could be torn apart and taken into two different families. Anyway, your fox is nothing. I have an owl on my window. You and your owl talk again. You said you believed me just yesterday. Has anybody seen my car keys? I remember leaving them on the windowsill. Right. Maybe you did, and maybe not. You're a grown man, a father of two, and still. Karina. Karina? I'm butchering this. Karina, please, stop. Just let me get ready in peace. Your keys are in the basket near the phone. Well, thank you very much. Anton, stop making a martyr out of yourself and finish eating already. And the owl? There was no owl. But there was one. It had giant glowing eyes. Olia sprung up from the chair and placed her hand on her little face, imitating a pair of eyes with her fingers the size of an apple each. Last year you had Babai in your closet, and now this owl? Babai? I don't know what that means. But I saw it. Olia shifted her gaze back and forth from Dad to Mum to me, but couldn't find any support. Have you thought about befriending it? You know, like feeding it with imaginary mice. God, he's a bit of a dick. That's your little girl you're talking to. Don't bully our girl. There you go. Good mum. She's just afraid to sleep alone because she's still little. Bad mum. No. Just believe your child. Jesus. Olia pouted her lips in rebellion and rushed into the hallway. The staircase that led to the second floor creaked. Mum gave Dad a strict look. Oh, that look in her eyes. It's so uncomfortable to be pinned under it. Dad just snorted in reply and left, ringing with the keys he just found. A minute had passed and the theme song from The Little Mermaid echoed through the house. It was stored on incredibly worn-out cassette tape, which Dad already had to glue together once. It's so easy to fix objects, by gluing them back together, for example. I'm not sure you could fix a cassette tape by gluing it back together. I mean, it would have to be some pretty strong glue. But how do you fix a relationship? Mum moved to the living room and I was left alone, anxiously seeing glances at the window. Olia had trouble sleeping ever since we moved to this house. This is the graphic I saw when I wanted to get this game. So this is the art that drew me in. So look at that, that's gorgeous. It looks hand painted, but I mean it's probably done on the computer, but it looks really, really good. Yeah. She would toss and turn or curl up into a ball under her blanket. Sometimes she would jump up in the middle of the night and turn on the VCR. Cartoons helped to take her mind off all the troubles we had with the move and our parents. And then Olia said she saw the giant flying monster outside her window. She became obsessed with it. Our parents did everything in their power. They tried every little trick to get rid of those ridiculous fears. Olia refused to sleep alone and didn't believe that the owl was just one of her nightmares. After tonight, I was unsure of what to make of my sister's words, what to think of it myself. Can nightmares be infectious? Just last night, I couldn't get a wink of sleep, and ended up thinking of what to expect in my new school. There were a couple of days left before the beginning of a new term. My imagination drew long, twisting hallways that led to a classroom full of kids. But all the students behind their desks were simply dark figures, cut out using a template. Circular holes gaped in the middle of their faces, and pairs of eyes blinked inside these holes. It was as if some completely different creatures were looking at me from behind a flat black silhouette. Their cruel glares, filled with icy sneers, made me shiver from head to toe. Will I survive here? Won't they gang up on me and beat me down? Stomp on me with their bloodied shoes? The damn school can burn for all I care. I just wish for anything to happen to it. It doesn't really matter what. I don't want to go there that badly. I don't want to see people who were just itching to smack me on the head, trip me up, think of a new offensive name for me, worse than the previous one. It felt like the glasses I wore made me an outsider or some sort of a monster. My gaze slid across the drawings hanging on the walls. I couldn't consider myself a great artist, but Olia begged me to hang them. Drawing was the only thing that made me happy as of late. A small circle of friends I had also enjoyed my paintings, and they promised to call me from time to time. Sometimes I imagine Mum picking up the phone and saying in a cold voice, "You've got the wrong number." Or, "Anton is not around." Anton is not around. I imagine my future classmates lying in their beds, just like me, listening to the howls of invisible werewolves outside their windows. Maybe my new classmates will like me after all. Who would ever like a boy with thick glasses? I mean, my dad used to wear glasses when he was little, and now he's married to the most beautiful woman on the planet, my mum. Oh, sweet child. The house creaked, pressed by the wind. The condo we used to live in, a 9-floor concrete building, buzzed with the neighbours' drill, mumbled with a TV set from behind the wall, cried like a baby from the big family next door. Our current house, though I can't really call it new, was completely different. It was silent and easygoing during the day, its shadows lay dormant in the corners, on the dust cobwebs and under the stairs. But they all woke up during the night. Something was watching me from every corner, almost as if the old photos of my deceased family, with their ashen eyes, were hanging on the walls in place of my drawings. The floor was squeaking, rusty drains were moaning, the attic was occupied by noisy drafts. One could think the house was performing some sort of demonic melody. And then I realised I was, in fact, hearing music. It was already playing for a good while. Somewhere at the edge of my perception, I could hear a flute. It was mixed in with the sound of the wind, of the creaking old house, and my thoughts too. I stood up and rushed to the window. I wanted to reassure myself that this music was nothing more than a product of my imagination. It's not like someone is playing it there, amidst the cold snowy night, right? Someone was dancing in the field. Black silhouettes I could barely make out, with the dark forest as their backdrop. They jumped around, basked in moonlight, bumped into piles of snow, rolled around and crawled on all fours. Stories about wolves playing under the moon came to mind, but these were clearly not wolves. I don't know, I think one or two of them might be. One looks like a bear, and I'd say the other looks like a bird of some sort. They stood upright at times, circled around holding hands and whipping up snow, disappearing into the shadows for a brief moment and then coming back. Something bizarre was going on. Shadows dancing in the starless abyss made my imagination go wild, making me anxious at the same time. Suddenly the music had stopped. The dancing shadows froze in place and, I could swear, pierced me with their eyes. One of the silhouettes immediately parted from the bizarre shadow carnival and sprinted across the field with giant leaps. It glided on the squeaky snow without leaving any prints, until it was devoured by the pitch-black shadow of my house, which became even darker and thicker. My heart was jumping around like the bird inside a cage. I shut the curtains with a swift motion and stepped back towards the bed. They saw me. A freezing torrent of fear washed over me. I stood in the middle of a perfectly dark room and listened to some unwanted guest move and scrape around, looking for an entrance. The sound moved to the right, then circled around the house. Now my guest should be at the front door. I jumped out of bed and covered myself with the blanket as if it could protect me. The shackles of fear locked my muscles. I remembered the funeral, my grandma lying there, hands crossed on her chest, her facial features sharp like that of a tin doll. Ants running up and down the legs of chairs that held my grandma's casket. I imagined those little creatures climbing up her head and pulling up her eyelids with their tiny legs. Then her wrinkly eyeballs would once again move inside their sockets and she'd be able to see her grandchildren. Okay! I was chanting the spell she taught me throughout the whole procedure. And now, lying under the blanket and listening to squeaks and howls, I was repeating the same words. On the island of Buyan, underneath the blemished sun, in the sea of colour blue, stands a cabin made of wood. There lay lard and ashen hare, for the spawn from the devil's lair, to feast and always leave alone, God's faithful servant named Anton. Evil leave this house must, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Bizarre sounds had disappeared. I cautiously peeked out from under the blanket and saw the curtains waving around like a hangman. And then the night doused me with a new portion of boiling terror. The sound scratched at my eardrums. In reality, something, or someone, was scratching at the front door, hurriedly clawing at the wood, demanding to be let in. The door was shut. Dad had become very cautious recently, so he'd installed a sturdy lock. I remember him staring at the forest intently as if he was looking for someone. Ashes to ashes. Dust to dust. I hugged my knees, placed my chin between them, and drilled the door with my eyes. It was so flimsy and weak before the might of darkness. And then the doorknob twitched, slightly. Then it turned halfway, once, twice, as if the person who tried to enter had no hands. The doorknob tilted once more, and then it started clicking, violently. My jaw cramped from fear. My wet fingers clutched the blanket. The door creaked and opened. The wind taunted me, moaning inside the tin drains. Now you'll see. The door was wide open. The darkness writhed inside the carnivorous mouth of the doorway. Tony. It was as if the night itself was calling out to me, flapping its black wings and squeaking with rusty hinges. I was trembling, ensnared by the web of darkness that hung in the corners of my room, waiting for the one who weaved it to come out of the gaping black hole. Tony. My abdomen tightened and my chest rose up, ready to exhale a desperate scream. But before I was able to do anything, the darkness asked me, Tony, you asleep? My sister's pale face protruded from the thick shadows. I almost screamed from relief. Olya, I'm not sleeping. Did something happen? Olya frowned and stuck out her lower lip, a clear sign that she was about to cry. It's there again, staring at me. Shoo her away, Tony, please. I'm so scared. The fear that was tormenting me just a minute ago crawled away and hid somewhere in my stomach. I needed to calm Olia down. It's just a dream, silly. Don't be scared. Dreams don't bite. No one's going to harm you. Olia sobbed. She was trying her best to believe me. But was I sure myself? I have an idea. Let's go to your room and watch the video Sleeping Beauty, for example. You like that cartoon, don't you? Why does Sleeping Beauty have a prince and I have this scary bird? That question took me by surprise. Alright, let's watch Cinderella. My thoughts became tangled, fuzzy. What was that? What studied me with its eyes while dancing feverishly under the moon? The darkness was clinging to the window, and it couldn't be fooled by Grandma's old chants. It couldn't be satisfied with a feast of lard and long ashen hair. Tony, are you coming? Yes, just a moment. Fuck. Why did that get me? Why did that get me? Oh dear. That was good. That was good. You got me. That's a fair cop. Fair. That's why I didn't want to laugh at Olia and her owl in the morning. Who could be visiting us here, in the middle of nowhere? We don't know anyone around here. So persistent. I felt extremely unsettled just from a silly thought that our morning's guests could have come from the woods. I barely hear any voices coming from the front door. My mind was urging me to hide. In the closet. Under the table. Behind the curtains, where Olia always hides. Tony, come here. I felt like kettleballs were tied to my feet, so dragged them towards the hallway. A couple of policemen towered over me in the doorway. They smelled like frost and worry. My mum always winced and grumbled the moment she saw patrol cars, worse than bandits. At the moment, though, she looked somewhat confused. Hello. The senior officer, who wore a grim expression, nodded. A boy has gone missing yesterday. His name's Vova. Look at this, please. Have you seen him? The policeman held out a photograph to me. Oh, he's got a kitty! There was a ginger boy around the age of elementary school, pictured with a wall carpet as backdrop. He had a striped cat in his hands and wore a wide smile. No, I haven't. Are you sure? Look closely. Where would I see him? I don't know anyone around here. I barely leave the house. Well, maybe you've seen him from the window. That's right. Your windows look straight at the forest, don't they? The window? No, I haven't seen anything. I see. He sounded tired, but his eyes, his stare, long and heavy, was full of suspicion. I squirmed unwittingly under the weight of guilt, which his giant shadow cast over me. The policeman finally tore his eyes from me and glanced over the hallway, the stairway and the cracks in the ceiling, which I hadn't noticed before for some reason. How do you like your new place, by the way? Getting used to it? Bit by bit. It's just our little daughter misses the city a lot. Oh, I didn't mean to double-click. Misses the city, her. Have the locals been treating you well? Oh gosh, it didn't like the backlog. My frames dropped so much. Yes, everything is alright. Thank you. The policeman pierced through me one more time with his grey eyes. My head started spinning. Can I help you somehow? I asked that in a shaky voice, to look like a polite boy and to end this unpleasant conversation sooner. Now that I think about it, You look just like one of my nephews, little fella. He's a witty boy, around your age. Wears the same type of goggles. Yeah. Always engrossed in reading those mystery novels. He told me he wants to enroll in a police school when his family visited this summer. Wanting to help other people, just like me, see? I felt uncomfortable, as if a distant relative and not a police officer stood before me. You know what? Little boys like you should stay at home, to stay away from trouble. The times have changed so much. Mum interjected in a cold voice. You don't say? Well then. What grade are you in, Tony boy? 6. Have you made any friends here so far? Not yet. I'll be going to school for the first time after the break. Then I'll leave you my number, just in case. Call me if you have any new info. The policemen were gone along with their shadows, the smell of cheap cologne and the photo of a smiling boy. His face still stood before my eyes. I wondered what it was like for him, being all alone, there. For some reason, I thought of the forest, swaying in the wind. What did his poor parents feel? Or what would my parents do if I'd gone missing? Would they cry and thrash around hysterically? Or would they accuse each other, like they always do, and forget about me eventually? Mom, this Vova, did he go missing in our forest? Seems like it, poor child. I looked out the window, at the road. The police UAZ drove off towards the village. The officer's nephew came to mind when I was splitting off for old paint from the windowsill. I remembered all the teenage mystery novels from the Black Kitty series I've read this summer. Your average boys and girls investigated all sorts of mysteries there. They looked for clues, spied on suspicious people, and after a set of amazing adventures, bam! Solved any complicated case. Sounds like Scooby-Doo, or Nancy Drew, depending on which one you grew up with. They became local celebrities and must have made their parents very proud. I noticed a trail of policemen's footprints that led to the forest. And then it clicked in my head. Why don't I start an investigation of my own? Maybe I'll find that lost boy. You're a child, please don't do that. And I'll get a reward. Ollie will be so happy. And not only Ollie, Mum and Dad too. Maybe they'll even forget about their quarrels for a while. Maybe I'll even save us from the D word. I fantasised about buying Ollie a Tamagotchi. I was getting a cassette player from a bunch of tapes for myself. And a whole box of Kinder Surprise. Oh, Kinder Surprise. When was the last time my parents bought us any toys? Last autumn, I think. My dad lost his job at the time. There's that annoying song about it. I had little to no idea what the accountant's job was like. They count money, I think. Neighbours used to envy us. But nowadays, Mum and Dad barely had money to afford sweets, and Dad would always divide a single chocolate bar between me and Ollie. Sometimes I gave her my share too. No matter how much I wanted to eat sweets, she was still just a pipsqueak. I couldn't wait to go out, looking for clues. I'm going outside. Yeah, right. You want the police to go around with your photograph next? The forest is so thick. What if the boy got snatched up by wild animals, or something even worse? Even worse, echoed through the hallway. I won't go far. I'll stay away from the forest. Did you hear what I said, or should I repeat myself? Better go pack your school bag or play with Ollie. That's a sensible mother. The sound of splashing water came from the kitchen. It meant that the argument was over and Mum had had the last word. I have a choice. The dark, stuffy closet. Mum says it smells like mice, but how would she know their smell? She hates when I stick my nose in there. She's afraid I'll cut myself on the freshly sharpened axe. And Ollie can't even be lured close to it. She thinks Baba is living there. I tried to help her fight her fears once. I opened the door and turned on a dim lamp so she would see there was nothing but cobwebs, Dad's tools and scratched walls. She still didn't believe me. and I liked to hide in the closet and listen to Ollie count outside. 1, 2, 3, better hide from me. And then drag her feet on the creaking floorboards, hoping she wouldn't need to look for me in the cramped monster's den. Grandma kept ice cream for me and Ollie there, but now I can only see meat bits for soup and clumped together pelmeni. I grew to hate them already. Oh. The side of an old ocean freezer was checked with my childish drawings, Mum's recipes and all kinds of stickers from bubblegum with dinosaurs that Ollie liked so much. Among that still life picture hung a piece of ruled paper with a phone number for the police officer who visited us. First Lieutenant Tikhonov, I read inside my mind, looking at the officer's sprawling handwriting. But I can't read Russian at all, so I apologise for butchering these names. A scrap of paper was held by 2 pieces of broken magnet from some old Soviet toy, and those pieces just barely covered up the numbers as if to taunt me. I leaned towards it to unveil the mystery and take the piece to a safer place where it would wait for its time, when I would finally find Vova and be the first to call the police with the happy news. Anton! Mum's reproachful eyes stared at me. What do you need it for? Hands off, you'll lose it. Angry my mum was the last thing I wanted, so I lowered my hand. I took a peek at Mum's crossword. She'd get very angry when someone gave her advice, so me and Dad faked knowing the answer and being about to reveal it all the time. I smiled at the fleeting thought. Vertical, 9 letters, the name of the Philistine deity that protected them from viper bites and had nicknamed the Lord of the Flies. Beelzebub? I don't know, actually. Second letter is E. Maybe it is Beelzebub. Emercom of Russia has declared a state of emergency due to adverse weather conditions. According to the weather forecast, a cyclone is moving towards the region. Expect heavy snowfall, blizzards and snowdrifts on the road. Keep your eyes open and take care of yourself. It was difficult to lie to Mum, but there was no other way for me to run away from home. Mom, something's wrong with the TV. The picture is dim, and there are stripes all over the screen. Mum's face became visibly distorted. Ah, you're killing me here. So have you had enough of shooting these stupid ducks now? Told you the kinescope will go dim because of your console. Where will we find a TV technician in this hole, huh? Maybe it's just the settings. Please, go see for yourself. Strange. It worked fine in the morning. Maybe the snowfall caused it. Mum rubbed her hands clean on her apron and went to Ollie's room. Anything else? Nope. Ooh. Mum's peg top, a family relic. Mum played with it when she was little, then she gifted it to me. Ollie was the next in the succession line. The toy belonged to her now. She stared at the dancing spindle as if it could show her something, a fairy tale, or maybe even our future. Not even my little sister was too old for the old squeaky peg top. My parents prohibit me from making long-distance calls, and from time to time I really want to hear my old friends. Sometimes I would just pick up the phone, listen to the low hum of the zoomer and the distant crackling, imagining the wind howling in the ice-laden chords. The cross has seen so many people come and go in this house. It was black, as if it absorbed all the human sin from the long years it was hanging under the ceiling. After Grandma died, Mum was going to take it off and hang a horseshoe in its place as a lucky charm, but she cut herself with the cross's sharp corner and almost fell from the stepladder. Dad called it a sign from above and ordered the cross to be left alone in its rightful place. Sign from above. Yeah, right. Anton, get your ass out of the closet immediately. Front yard it is. Bye, Mum. I'm being a naughty child. I opened the front gate and went into the field. Carefully, so Mum wouldn't see me from the window. When I crossed half the distance towards the forest, the snow piles had become as high as my knees. I remembered my nightly fears. I saw those silhouettes around here. They were jumping around, holding hands. That hypnotising music started playing in my head all on its own. In the light of day, those distant figures felt like a simple dream. The sun had turned my nightmares to ash, but the aftertaste was still there. Distant ringing in my ears, distorted shadows crawling on the ground alongside me, and a barely audible whisper in my head, blurry and almost kind. Everything was silent. So silent I felt like the world was totally empty. No ground, no sky, no parents, no Olya. The time reached its limit, a one-way trip that ended at the forest's piney stockade. Sometimes silence was much scarier than any scream. Our parents would scream at each other while arguing. Both me and Olya turned to stone, listening to them. Then always came the ringing silence. Our apartment became numb a couple of days before we departed. It was hard to remember the last time Mum and Dad joked around, laughing or spent time together, almost like it was all of it was in a previous life. When they kissed with Olya present, she always frowned and snorted in a funny way. But one day it all changed. Something important had left our home, and something scary filled the remaining void. It was as if a fire broke up, and our parents were hurriedly packing our belongings, trying to save themselves and us. From who, though? From the people with dead cold eyes, who sometimes visited us in our previous home? The eyes that only saw balls of worms on the black ground and everything. And somewhere far away a siren was going off, trying to warn us of the coming menace. I shuddered, chasing away my delusions, and looked around. There was only me, the white field, and the wind that was whipping up icy dust and belts of powder snow. I squinted from the sun and turned my eyes to the sunless forest. It looked especially dark, in contrast with the blinding whiteness. Knobby tree roots slithered under the snow like fat snakes. Rotten leaves and carnivorous needles froze into the ice. Dry, prickly branches intertwined, bringing up uncomfortable thoughts about fences. Were they protecting the forest? Or were they keeping something from breaking out? Some object was hanging from one of the pointy branches. I tried to get closer, drowning in snow. When I almost got to the edge of the forest, I saw a knitted mitten. It looked like a wounded bird among the hangering semi-dark. What? Should I take it to the police? The senior officer looked gloomy, but he still reminded me of Captain Casanova from my favourite TV show called The Streets of Broken Lights. He was always so anxious, with a tired look in his eyes, but so brave and strong. Will this mitten help them find the lost boy? Vova! I heard a distant shout. It looked like it came from the river. Vova! As if the trees were calling out to someone. Vova! Resounded closer to me. Someone was standing there, behind the trees. Hiding. Vova! I knew someone was looking for the lost boy, but still, something was unsettling about that figure. I'm probably more unsettled about the fact that I can't see that figure that you're talking about. Its stillness, how it bent, how it was bent unnaturally towards the ground. Its blackness. There's no one there. Just branches and roots. It's all just my imagination. A nearby bird flapped its wings loudly. Ha! A shadow split from the tree and disappeared from my sight. I looked away for just a moment. When I turned my gaze back to the same place, it was gone. So it was my imagination, after all. Silence reigned for a painfully long time. I'm not enjoying this. My muscles were tightly sprung. My heart was beating somewhere in my throat. Any noise, any little movement, any small whisper from the thicket, and I'd sprint. But nothing of the sort happened. I looked at the mitten once more. Oh, God. I decided to take the lonely mitten from the branch. Vova! A shout rumbled across the field and dissolved into the distance. No echo, no hope for a reply. So I feel I've made a poor decision. I set towards the bristly trees and tried to claim my find. It didn't budge. I pulled harder. The branch creaked and the mitten tore off, landing in my hand with a squishy sound. All too heavy. Wet. I squeezed it without thinking and something dark spilled from it, forming a tiny string between the mitten and the snow. Steam rose from the snow pile. I froze in place, studying my palms in disgust. Red. The sound of cracking branches invaded the silence. I didn't have to think twice before running away. Someone was chasing me from the darkness, breaking pine branches, closing the distance with giant leaps. Snow was slowing me down. Crazy thoughts flew in through my mind. I'll get caught. They'll get me. I'll get dragged into the thicket. I'll be gone forever. But there was one more voice, probably one of reason. It gave me strength, spurred me on. You can do it. Don't stop. I heard an animal roar behind me. It was so loud my ears went numb. It felt like the sound had come from a pack of hungry beasts rather than a single one. Their nostrils sucked in freezing air. They sensed my fear. 2 giant wings flapped above my head. An enormous shadow flew over the clearing. A hoot, a wheeze. The roars were coming from all directions now. From the dried up raspberry bush, from twisted pines, from under the wind fell. Hurry, run! Don't look back. I felt like I was inside a nightmare. The snowy clearing became vicious like quicksand. I was stuck in place. I pulled my leg from the mushy trap just to get caught in a new one, even deeper than before. I continued to drown, sinking deeper and deeper with every desperate push. Was snow ever this sticky? I screamed in horror after realising this wasn't snow. Someone or something in the snow pile was clutching my pants. I gathered all my strength and rushed forwards. The pressure on my leg was gone. My boots slipped out of the hole and my soles were on a hard surface again. I reached a clear path with one jump and from there ran to my house. Its gloomy facade didn't look threatening now. That house was my line of defence from the shadows that flapped their wings and the creatures that were hidden under the snow. I tripped over the doorstep and smashed into the door. In all my hurry, I still managed to notice the claw marks, as if a dog was striking the wood with its paws, demanding to be let in so it could escape the cold. I hadn't noticed these marks when I was leaving. The heartbeat in my ears was so much louder than my surroundings. I couldn't hear whether someone was following me or not. What if they were already in the front yard and Mum had locked the door? Drowning in fear, I pulled on the doorknob and it obediently gave way. I rolled into the hallway and shut the door behind me. Porch planks creaked as my pursuers ascended the stairs. My fingers slipped off the lock and I couldn't click it in place. I gritted my teeth and pulled hard on the iron knob, whipping it between the boards. I stared blankly at the door. Someone was standing on the other side of the pitiful, flimsy barrier that was probably less useful than blankets. Wheezing breath reached into the house and it crashed at me in waves. It smelled of pine and sweat. Mum peeked out the kitchen and chastised me with the same frigid voice she always uses when talking to Dad. What exactly didn't you understand when I told you to never slam the door? I didn't mean to. I snuck a glance at the door. The smell was gone. And the breath was too. If there was someone in the first place, of course. Here, 5 metres away from Mum, my fear was slowly weakening, melting like snow in spring, and with it the last bit of strength I had left my body too. Punctuation in this, man. My legs gave way. I propped myself against the wall so I wouldn't fall over. Mum's expression had changed immediately. The cold mass of strictness and detachment was gone, Mum looked the same as before all of those quarrels. She finally saw my condition, my wet pants plastered with snow. "Where have you been? What did I tell you, huh? I told you to stay home." "Am I nothing to you too?" I got afraid she would cry. I reached out to her like when I was very little and wanted her to cuddle me. But Mum regained her composure fast and put on her usual face. Her eyes shined like steel, her voice rang out. "Your dad can't find his cigarettes. Be honest. Did you snatch them? Were you smoking in secret?" There was someone chasing me. I thought..." I stuttered as soon as I started explaining myself. Tears welled up in my eyes. Mum leaned towards me and sniffed my clothes like a beast, searching for the smell of tobacco. Then she squinted her eyes in suspicion and looked into the front yard. Her expression changed in an instant. She covered her mouth with her hand. "Look over there, at the fence!" My heart started thumping, as if I became prey once again, and my pursuers were following me in the field. I could swear that I've heard something scratch at the door, just like my nightmare. Mum beckoned me with her finger, and I gathered all my remaining bravery to look into the kitchen window, facing my fear. I could barely discern some hairy silhouettes swimming in snow through the icy winter patterns on the glass. Dogs. Just a small pack of strays, with no name and owner, barely reminding of the hungry monsters that live on the edge of the forest. "Oh boy, were you scared of them? I think they'd rather be scared of you, Anton." "They were chasing me, like a bunny. And what if they're rabid?" A smile had slowly disappeared from Mum's face. Now she looked at the dogs as if it was her first time seeing them. "What if they attack Olya?" "Mum? I wish your dad could just shoot them all." "Mum, look, they're alive." "Huh? What? Are they your friend or foe after all? Make up your mind. You're not a little kid anymore." Mum sighed in annoyance, and I felt so bitter that I bit my lower lip and fixed my gaze on the cobweb-ridden corner. Well, some detective I am. In reality, I wasn't risking my life among monsters, but rather my pants among a pack of stupid strays. And what for? What use do I have for this? Mitten. Of course! A dark and sticky mitten that belonged to the lost boy made a squishy sound in my hand. Seems like I was clutching it the whole time. That's my trump card as a detective. I hurried to present this clue to my mum. "Mum, look, this is Vova's mitten. That boy the police were asking about this morning. It's drenched in blood. I found it hanging on a tree. I can show where. Let's call the police right away, like the officer had told us to. Mum, look." Ew. A shadow of doubt slowly crept into Mum's contorted face, as if she was trying to remember something distant, like someone tries to remember the dream, but the image slips away. "Stop it this moment. Olya will go insane if she hears you. She's already had trouble sleeping and whines all the time. You joke around like this?" At that moment I realised the mitten was actually wet from snow. There was no blood whatsoever. I wanted to sink to the floor from embarrassment. "Come here, my boy," who cried Wolf. "Oh, don't just stand there. Come take your pills." A golden-coloured pill, reminiscent of a dead wasp, fell into my palm. "I already took one during breakfast." "Don't talk over me. I told you to stay home and you..." "Dad would have given you a good whipping for that. Come on, take it, or you won't be able to sleep at night. And you have school tomorrow." So I had to swallow the bitter medication, drinking it down with similarly awful water that gave off a taste of chlorine. Maybe it wasn't Vova's mitten. Maybe it wasn't a mitten at all. Just like the forest monsters. And Olya's owl. Am I going mad? What's happening to me? Either the pill had an immediate effect, or my overexerted brain didn't let fear inside anymore. Serenity washed over me, bringing yawning indifference along with it. "Anton? You done? See, you can do it when you try. Take off your coat. Are you asleep?" "No, Mum. I was just thinking." "About what, I wonder?" "It's just something silly." Mum scrutinised me with suspicious eyes, as if she wasn't sure she was looking at her own son and not some doppelganger that came from the forest. Is everything alright? You had the exact same expression when the policeman asked you about the window. I'm alright, Mum. She heaved a deep sigh. Fine. It seemed like the house had changed. The sofa's fabric had become discoloured. Fingerprints appeared on the bathroom tiles. The light bulbs also felt different, dimmer and yellower. Even the saliva inside my mouth had a different taste. A melody from Aladdin could be heard from the upper floor. Olia was done rewatching her favourite Little Mermaid episode and switched to other tapes. I slowly changed into my home clothes, stopped before the sink, and studied my reflection in the mirror, like I was trying to solve one of those spot the difference puzzles. Then I went upstairs. Jafar and Iago's voices died down. I walked past Olia's bedroom and slipped into my own. I think I'm going to leave this one here. This is a bit longer than I thought it was. So, yeah, I'm going to leave this one here for now, just to give my voice a bit of a break. But this is good so far, and it has actually frightened me. It succeeded in scaring me, so attack this again next week. Right. See you later. Bye!